From the rolling hills and the green acres of Shell Estates in Coweta, Oklahoma, it's the Shell Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Shells Podcast. This episode's going to be a little bit different. I'm not going to talk about finance. I'm not going to talk about stocks, real estate, financial independence, none of that. In this episode, I'm just going to talk and talk about the situation I'm going through with this disease that is causing problems. What I mean by that is I want to talk about my situation that I'm in, the problems and effects I'm having because of this, and try to relay that information to you guys so you can have a understanding of what's happening here where I'm located, and maybe to see if it's the same as what's happening to you. So far, what's been happening here for me is friends are all very distant. We don't talk much anymore because of this virus. We also, I don't hang out with anyone right now either. I'm not trying to get that, especially before I leave for boot camp. And I will be getting into boot camp later. Another thing is businesses in Coweta and Tulsa area. Some have been shut down. Some are doing things differently. For example, there's a pizza shop called Goodfellas. They're no longer doing dine-in. They are only doing pickup and delivery. But my situation that I wanted to talk about what's going on for me personally, is I wanted to talk a lot about the Air Force and get that information relayed. Let's see what's going on. Well, first, before the entire pandemic, before all of this, I was supposed to leave October 8th. That was the date. But my recruiter at the time was he was an asshole. He lied to me, and he gave me a job in August when he told me it would be in October. And then October came around, and then he told me it would be in December. December came around, and then he said by probably the end of February, I can get you a job. And I said, okay. And then what happened was he left for Japan, because that's where he was being located. He left for Japan, and he gave all his work to Lishman, who is now my new recruiter. And he completely effed up his job and what he was supposed to do. A lot of people were in the same shoes and same position that I was in. So Lishman had to take care of that and resolve all the issues that Sergeant Allen brought up and gave to people without needing to. After that, after everything got resolved, and Lishman got rid of my job in August, and he got me a job at the end of March. March 31st was the job he got me. And everything seemed to be going fine. Nothing seemed to have had any issues until March 22nd. I got a call from Lishman, and due to the virus that is going around, it postponed my leave date and made my boot camp date, made it postponed. And it is in postponement now. So He made my leave date in postponement, and it is in postponement now. I don't know when I'm going to be leaving. I have no idea. But what I do know is that he is working day and night to get me out, which I'm very grateful for. I'm happy to have a recruiter who cares enough about the situation, to be willing to always take my call when he can and text me updates about what's going on. It's very nice to have, especially when you're in a situation where you don't completely understand what is going on. But what I do know so far, and this can change at any moment, I believe, is that in the Air Force, that instead of boot camp being a 1-week cycle, it is turned into a 4-week cycle. And what they do is they bring in a group every 4 weeks, and then that group stays in isolation for 14 days and for 14 days, 2 weeks, in 40 people groups. So if there's 400 people, there's 10 groups of 40 people, in each group isolated, and each isolated group stays there for 2 weeks, unless someone in the group is COVID positive. Then they stay in there for another 2 weeks, but the person who is COVID positive isolates themselves for 2 weeks, and they get proper treatment. But if your group after the 2 weeks has had 0 COVID positive, then what they do is they put you back. What they then do is run you through boot camp for the 8.5 weeks. So what they're doing is, because boot camp is still mission critical, they are not closing it off, but they are taking precautions for it. I understand why they're doing it, but it's very aggravating that this is now happening now and causing these issues. And then before that, I had a recruiter who didn't want to get me in, and then before that, I had to wrestle with the school to graduate early. And I've been doing. It seems like this has been nothing but a grind to get every inch of progress. I can't think of a single person that is more dedicated to getting in than me. And even with that, I still have so many issues that arise. And I understand it's not a easy process. Excuse me. I understand that it is not a easy process to do. And if you want to be successful in this field, you have to be disciplined, dedicated, and be okay with putting in a grind and an effort to get where you want to go. My end goal is fighter pilot. And I understand that is a very difficult job, and people tell me all the time that it's a very difficult job. And, there are days when I question myself about it. But if I'm being in all honesty, I completely believe that I will be able to achieve it, not because it is a hard thing or I'm special or anything like that, but because I have a drive, and I have this ability to set a goal and achieve it. That's very bland, but it's something I can do really well. If I want to bench 200 pounds, I will get to that in some fashion. If I want to get my motorcycle license, I can get to that in some fashion. I wanted a motorcycle license. I got a motorcycle license. I wanted to be a delivery driver. I got to be a delivery driver for my parents' pizza shop. I wanted. I remember when I first got into weightlifting. The reason I got into weightlifting was very selfish. I wanted to be in a position where I couldn't get picked on. I don't know why, but I always felt as if I got picked on. I'm not certain if I did or if I was just, antisocial or something. I always hung out with the weird kids. I made bad decisions growing up, and I finally got to a point where I said I needed to get better. And the way I thought I could do that was through working out and getting into a position where I couldn't be taken down. I thought if I could do something better than everyone else who challenges me, then I will have the respect and self-confidence to push myself farther in any situation. But mainly, it was to not get picked on anymore. I wanted to enjoy school. I didn't enjoy school. Thought it was very I was embarrassed all the time at school. I never liked it. I always got I always was in trouble. Not because I wanted to be. It was just I did something and I would get in trouble and then I would be mad at them for I would be mad at them for catching me, I guess. I don't know. But I decided to work out to get myself into I decided to work out to become bigger so that my bullies would be scared of me. So I did that, and I achieved it. I no longer get picked on. I no longer am afraid of people. People no longer disrespect me in that way. Life will always have someone who's a dick to you. That's just life. But I no longer let people talk down to me. And I think it's completely because of weightlifting. It boosts my self-confidence tremendously. Talking about this entire thing. When I was going through the school system and trying to graduate early, what I wanted to do was get onto the online process and work at my own pace and complete online school in a matter of take it from a year and make it into maybe a month or two or a few months at the most, so I can graduate early and get into the Air Force quicker. I've been working to getting into the Air Force since last January. Not this January, but last January. It's been it's been more than a year. It's been a year and a few months. I think 2 months, a year and 2 months, yeah, of me working to achieve to get into the Air Force. That's what that's been. While I was going through the schooling process, the principal was a pain in my ass. He is the worst person on earth, and I will never, ever forgive that guy for the way he spoke about my mom. Not about my mom, but to my mom. If it was legal to kick someone's ass, I would kick his fucking ass. I He treated me with such disrespect. He treated my mom so bad, and he barely just was okay with talking to my dad. And I have no idea why. He was a pathetic person. But after the schooling, I got into the Air Force. I went to MEPS. I passed MEPS with flying colors. Let's see. After MEPS, I came back. I got into the softbook program. Once I turned 18 and graduated, I would be sent off immediately, but they would start working on getting me a job now. They did, but they got it for me in August when it was supposed to be in, sooner, much sooner. The reason he said, Sergeant Allen, the reason he said I couldn't get a job now was because I haven't graduated, but truth was I did. I gave him papers and he said he was... I'm so glad he left. I am. He did a horrible, horrible job, and I will never be okay with having someone like that in that position. I can't imagine how many people he's done that to, how many people he would continue to have done that to if he stayed in the recruiting field, if that was his job. Oh, but back to what's going on with this virus. It's causing me a lot of issues, especially in the Air Force. They postponed my leave date. They've caused tremendous issues for me in that area. Businesses are closing down. Some of them are. I think some of them will be closed permanently. And oh shit. And I just can't see them ever. I can't see us in a short period of time getting over all of the issues this has caused. I will say this though. Right now is a great time to buy some of these stocks. It is probably the only thing that's keeping me going are these stocks. I am very that's one thing I'm grateful for about this, is that it's causing the stock market to crash, and in there I am getting a higher dividend yield on these fantastic companies, and with each one that I get, it just costs me less money to make a higher passive income. I went from making I think I've said this before, but I went from making 4.42% of a dividend yield to now I'm making a 5.56, and I'm sure in time that will increase. Hopefully, I would really like it if these good companies get me to a 6% dividend yield, because these companies, maybe a few of them, I have 26 holdings. I would say at most 6 of them or the chances of this being bad might cut their dividend. 6 at most. 10 would be insane, but the majority of them will not. There's just no way. Well, there's a way for them. They can just say we're not going to pay the dividends, but fundamentally, there's no reason why they would. I would say 4 or 5 of my companies I have in there are risky. I would say about maybe 12 of them are just moderately. And it's not even because they are risky fundamentally or the company itself is risky, but it's just the fact that they have such a high payout ratio that if there was serious issues, they would have to cut their dividends, or they would have to start working on cutting something, either dividends or lowering the cost of products, or increasing their rents to make more income or something. But But everything else that I own would do amazing. Coca-Cola, Costco, Home Depot, Store Capital should be a good one. Realty Income, Lockheed, Disney should be doing just fine after all of this. What else is another good one? Verizon, AT&T might. It's one of those moderate ones, but Verizon should do just fine. Apple, Microsoft, those are still going to be going just fine. But yeah, this virus has been causing issues for people. It's been putting me into a terrible situation, but I'm getting through it. I'm going to get through this. I'm not going to stop. I can't. And I will get into the Air Force. No, I would say I have a few weeks until I leave. I'm thinking maybe April 14th to April 30th. It's going to be somewhere in there. So in a very short amount of time, I'll be at boot camp, and then after boot camp, I'll be sent to tech school. After tech school, I'll be going to a base after that. I can't wait until I get to out of boot camp, and maybe tech school, or if not at tech school, it would definitely be at base. I'm gonna be getting me a Harley Davidson Iron 883 for a motorcycle. I've always wanted one, and I'll be getting me one of those. Not with a crazy loan either. I'm either gonna buy the thing outright with cash, since they're so cheap, or I'm going to get me a loan. But since I have a good credit score and I have good history, it shouldn't be anything crazy. I mean, maybe at the highest, I think on those motorcycle loans, at the highest, it's going to be a 6% loan, which will be horrible, and I would hate that. I'm really hoping maybe a 5% if I can, but 5 or 6% is what I'm hoping for. Most likely, I'm just gonna buy it outright, but yeah, that's the most likely thing I'm going to do. But I would have to look at the numbers to really understand completely on the loan if it is worth it or not. Because if I can get a loan for a motorcycle under 4%, I would much rather buy that and then put the rest of the money, do the down payment, and then put the rest of the money into my stocks and have my money pay its own interest off. What I mean by that is if I put in the stocks and the stocks are making me like right now, 5% dividend yield, and the loan is only 4%, right? That means I can either put the money in there and put it all on it, or I can put it all into my stocks, pay off the loan itself with that interest that it makes, and make me a profit as well. Because the interest that the money would be making in the stock portfolio would be more than it would be making in the loan itself. So I would still be making a profit that way. But that's what I'm most likely am going to do. Is if I get a loan, I want it to be low enough that it will still make me a profit if I put it in something else. But if I can't get a loan to do that, and it would just be too high of an interest, I'm just going to buy it outright and hopefully bargain the price down a tad bit more. I mean, that's best you can hope for, right? But I've talked long enough. I just wanted to, I guess I just wanted to talk because, this Air Force stuff's been really eating at me, and this podcast really helps me express how I feel. So it may not make sense in the video, but it makes sense to me. So that's the important part. But anyways, This is going to be the end. You guys have a nice day.